It is Thursday. It is the SportsCage. Welcome, everybody. Like he said, it's for Access Communications. Very trusted in rural Saskatchewan for internet and more. It's Barney, Shynkaruk, Chris Harris, CNC with us. 3 hours. The rundown goes as this. We're going to be joined by newly signed Saskatchewan Rough Rider, signed again, re-upped. Use whatever lingo you want. Marcus Sayles going to join us hopefully within the first 20 minutes of the program here. Harry and I are going to talk about an NHL survey that came out with NHL players. There's a lot of questions in there, and I told him, don't tell me the questions or the answers. I want to guess. The first one was easy. We'll get to that in a bit. Harry's going to talk about the Waste Management Open, which is going on, golf event in Scottsdale. If you're a sports fan, you probably are aware of this. It's kind of a golf tournament. It's kind of just a massive party. I've never been to it. Harry's been to it, so we can run down that situation. Hour 2, Arash Madani is in New Orleans at the Super Bowl. All the Super Bowl fix that you need will be with Arash Madani there. We got Clutch Performer, local hockey rundown, Glen Suitor in hour 3, and a whole lot more. Lot to get to. You can always chime in, be part of the show on the Prairie Land Rentals text line. Since 1986, Prairie Land Rentals, you deal with the owner. Big jobs, small jobs, 600 Albert Street, 936-6262 is that number to chime in. CFL free agent window, Harry, we haven't done the show together. We haven't done the show together in, 10 days, couple weeks. It is fast and furious. The thing is, and the guys talked about yesterday, I heard when Maz was on briefly while I was running in and out of hockey rinks in about 8 feet of snow. So everybody out there with a sore back from shoveling, we're all on the same page. It is it's quite interesting how many guys are going here, going there, changing. Like today, what we're learning allegedly, because this is all, is Jareth Stearns gone from the Riders. Peter Godber sounds like he's gone. Adam O'Clair also gone. Which, Jeremy O'Day said not everyone's going to be back, right?
Yeah, it's inevitable. You can't just re-sign everybody.
It's, unless you play, I don't know, 6-man football in Ituna, where who's coming back next year.
Yeah.
Everything changes. Your minor hockey teams, your minor football teams, everything changes. So I'm just I was combing through social media, and fan, short for fanatic, people are losing their minds on a lot of things. And it's like, people, the only thing that's constant is change. The news today was just a little while ago, Mitch Picton, Rider homegrown receiver, Mitch Picton. A lot of experts in the field of CFL football did not expect him to be back with the Riders and signing with the Riders. So some of them have some explaining to do in their chat forums. Picton, and then yesterday was word on Marcus Sayles. And let's go out on that Western Pizza guest hotline. No need to cook tonight while you're done shoveling. Order some Western za, the Greek favorites you like, the ribs, pizza, souvlaki, salads. There he is joining us. Marcus Sayles back in Rider Nation. Marcus, you look bundled up. Where are you? Aren't you in BC?
Yeah, I'm out in BC right now. There's a little bit of snow out here today, so it's a little crazy, but it's nice out here.
Whereabouts in BC?
Out in Surrey.
Oh, snow in Surrey. Yeah, that's
a little different,
interesting.
but it's cool though.
Did you not get the invite to come to the Winter Classic to either coach or I don't even know if you skate? The boys were playing hockey in Saskatoon last weekend. Did you get the call?
I didn't get the call, but I don't know if they want to see me on the ice. I don't know how good I am. I've only done it a couple times.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, no, we don't need any of that. Signed yesterday, back with the green and white. Now that that's kind of over and done with, maybe just explain, the kind of load that's off your mind, and now I'm sure it's training and the goal of the Grey Cup and being back here in Regina.
One, I just want to say how blessed I am. Just the only reason I'm even here is just because, God and Jesus, and He's just been, just blessing me consistently. For me to have been, going on 7 years now, and, for me to have, as much success as I've had, over these years, I'm nothing but blessed. I've just been fortunate enough to been around, a lot of good guys, throughout my years. It doesn't matter if it's been my teammates, the coaches, the front office, fans. I've just been around a lot of good people, and I've always just appreciated so much just about the CFL, and I've just always been excited to continue my career. So I'm excited to be back, with the Riders, and I'm ready to chase this ring.
Why back with the Riders?
It's such a great organization. They took a shot on me, after I was released from BC, and I've ever since I got into the organization, it's been nothing but love, nothing but respect. We work so hard. There's all the guys on the team. We grind, and we all have the same goal in mind, and that was trying to win the ring last year. But I think it was important for the organization, to have continuity. Sorry, and to just bring a lot of the guys back, and I just wanted to be a part of us chasing that ring, because we were so close last year, and we feel like we can do it this year too. So.
Marcus, so far every year, your numbers continue to kind of trend upwards. Now, what do you attribute that to? Is it either just more time becoming more familiar with the league, or is there something that you've tweaked to your game that has kind of had you going in that upwards direction?
Like I said, I've just been fortunate enough to been around a lot of good coaches. I've been fortunate enough to been around a lot of great players. Even when I came into the league, I was around guys like Zach Caleros, Willie, and Andrew Harris, and Winston Rose. And I go to BC, I'm around guys like GP and TJ Lee, and I get here, I'm around guys like Roland and Revis, and just all the coaching staffs that I've been around. I've been fortunate enough to been around a lot of good players, a lot of guys with experience, and we just bounce information off each other. We've all seen so many things over the course of the time we've been playing football, and it all just contributes where our game's going to be. So I've just been blessed in that area.
Defensive backfield. A lot of people are excited about this, and it kind of came from left field, which was awesome. Tavon Campbell coming back to the CFL, back to the green and white, back in Regina. Maybe just your thoughts on having a former NFLer and a guy that's back in the league.
It's always great, to get somebody who's, had experience, and then one, he's played in Regina too. So, I know the fan base is excited to have him back, and, I'm excited to see what he can bring to the table. I even saw a stat that he has one of the fastest 40-yard times in CFL Combine history or something like that. So, I'm excited to see what he can do. And, we're, like I said, we're going to bounce, information off each other. We're going to share our experiences, and, we're just going to try and win this ring, because it's right there for us to take it. So.
As a guy that's been around the league, and you're mentioning just a little while ago, is there another guy that the Riders have signed so far that's been released from the Riders, like a guy like Shane Ray maybe, or anyone else that's coming into the fold? It's got the relationship with Coach Mace, with the coaching staff, that you're excited about, a guy that's battled and been in these situations with guys around the league?
You see what they're trying to do with the team. They're trying to bring, all this experience, and you look at guys like Mike Rose, you look at guys like, Shane Ray. We brought back Thurman, which was a huge piece. We brought back, Nelson Lacombo. He was important to our defense. So, it's so much things just about continuity, and you see, how other teams have done it. You see how Winnipeg has done it, kept bringing back the same guys over and over. You see Toronto, they were bringing back the same guys, and for us, I think it was important for us to bring as many pieces back, because when Coach Mace came in, it was about building from him being a first-year head coach. So now that we have this, most of the guys coming back in our free agency and him coming back too, and we feel like we're about to take it to another level.
With the re-signing, Marcus, and staying in Saskatchewan, obviously you're going to be looked to as a leader in the defensive backfield. Is that a role that you're comfortable with? Is that a role that it's going to take a little getting used to? How do you feel like you're going to embrace that role?
I feel like, pretty much ever since I've been in the league, I feel like a lot of guys have looked up to me and, to be that leader, but I don't want to even say like I'm the only leader. I mean, we have so many leaders on our team. You look at Roland and, and CJ, those are, our vocal leaders in the DBs. You look at Jameer Thurman, he's pretty much, the middle linebacker. He's pretty much the leader of the defense. And, Trevor Harris and, everybody that they have on offense, there's so much experience where, you don't really have to lean on just one guy. But I mean, for me to have been around for this league for the last couple of years and seen a lot of things, I'm more than happy to, to give my 2 cents whenever it's needed. But, it's never just about one person. We have everybody that can lean on each other. So
with that said, and you don't have to give us any names on this, but do you get calls and do you talk to other guys in the league that say, hey, what's it like in Sask? What's it like playing there? Do you talk to guys around the league that are on maybe other teams?
I wouldn't say like on phone calls, but just like maybe like after games, they see what we're doing there. They see how much fun we're having. They see us dancing in the end zones when our offense and our defense scores, and they want to be a part of it. They know Coach Mace. They know the coaching staff that he's brought in with them, and they want to play for us. They want to be able to be a part of this, and fortunately, I've been able to be a part of it as well. And I think Coach Mace just has that energy and that drive that wants to want to bring players in, and when we're so focused on just like winning this Grey Cup, I think everybody wants to be a part of it. So I'm excited to be a part of it as well.
Obviously, playing in Saski is the best in the CFL, but when you go on the road, what's the stadium? Where do you like to play when it comes to the road games?
Honestly, I feel like most of the teams, if not all of them, have just like a great environment. Even when I started out in Winnipeg, and you know how Winnipeg's fan base is. It's very loud. And it's very hectic, and that's a great place to be. I mean, I don't know. Teams like Hamilton. Hamilton has a great fan base. I can't knock off the Riders. The Riders is one of the top fan bases as well. I mean, it's electric everywhere you go.
That's been established. Yeah, what about that Montreal? What about that Montreal atmosphere with those absolutely annoying horns?
Man, Montreal too. When their offense is on the field and they're rolling. Their fans get into it when we're on defense and they're trying to mess up our calls and things like that. It gets hectic at a lot of stadiums. So just shout out to the CFL for just making it as energetic as it is, because it's a fun place to play.
Okay, so you're a Georgia guy, but you had a cup of coffee with the Bills and with the Rams. Now we got the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday. Where's your allegiance in this game? Who are you pulling for? Maybe you wanted the Bills there. They're not. I wanted the Bills there. Who are you pulling for on Sunday?
I mean, at first, before this whole, the Super Bowl teams came together, I thought it was going to be the Bills and the Lions. I thought it was a great chance that could happen, but it wasn't. So, but now that it's Chiefs Eagles, I just don't think you can bet against Patrick Mahomes. He's a proven leader. He's a proven star in this league, and I feel like as long as they can keep the ball in his hands, and he's going to score touchdowns. He's going to get the ball to his playmaker. So, I'm excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, that seems to be the reoccurring theme when we're talking to athletes, is everyone's like, don't bet against Mahomes. But as a defensive guy, you got to really like what Spagnuolo does on that defense for the Chiefs. Like, it seems that the opportune time, just like against the Bills, sends that corner blitz. Like him as a defensive coordinator, there's some cool stuff going on there.
I mean, yeah. I mean, even with some of their young guys that they brought in, they brought in on two I think first round DBs that they brought in, mixing them with Darius Slay and with the D line that they have, it's gonna be a tough game. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be a walk in the park for Patrick, but I still think it's gonna be I want to say a tighter game than usual, But I think Patrick Mahomes is going to find a way to pull it out in those late game situations. So.
All right. So when do people in Saski? When do you come back? When are you back here, boots on the ground in Sask?
Well, I personally, I probably won't come back until a little bit, probably before camp. I got to get my house situation and everything. But, I think by the time everybody comes back from camp, I think all the guys are going to be ready, and we're going to be ready to go full force. We're not going to be looking back, to last year. We have so much going for us this year. We have so many expectations, and, I feel like everybody is going to be ready going in.
Right on. All right. Well, we appreciate you taking some time. Obviously, everybody's excited in Sask here, all the announcements, including yourselves. And I know you got a lot of shoveling to do in Surrey, so we better.
Man,
you don't want to see
bit more than usual.
you don't want to see what we got going on here in Sask. Maybe wait till all this melts. That's a good idea.
And I can turn it around and see if y'all can see it a little bit. I don't know. Can see it. Not too bad.
Golf course is closed, but they'll be back open tomorrow in Surrey when it all melts. Sure. Marcus, take care. Thanks a lot.
No, thank y'all.
Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back is right. Marcus Sayles from our Saskatchewan Roughriders back in the fold. We'll take a quick break. It is the Sports Cage streaming at sportscage.com and on the home of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, 620 CKRM. Welcome back to the Sports Cage out on the Prairie Land Rentals text line. It's been a while since we got one in from Brandon. I was wondering if he was angry at me that I wore his son's Buffalo Bills jersey and jinxed it. He says he's happy Mitch Picton is sticking around and Sayles for 2 years. Well done, Rough Riders. Well done. And then he says, can I get a go Chiefs from Barney? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'll cheer for the 64-cent dollar before I'll cheer for the Chiefs this weekend. It's the Marcus Sayles, great guy, right? I interviewed him at the stadium last year too. You brought up the question about the leader. Is he a leader? Is he ready for that? And he brought up a good point. I feel like, again, I'm not in that locker room. We're not in that locker room. We don't got access to the ping pong table. But they all seem, there's a lot of leaders on that defense.
It is funny. As soon as he answered the question, I was like, Jesus, they do have a lot of good, solid veteran leadership when you really break it down. And so he can take his time into that role. He doesn't strike me as the in-your-face kind of ramrod leader. I think it's more of a lead by example, work ethic kind of mentality for him. But yeah, they have a wealth of it when you really break it down.
And then the Mitch Picton news today, I'm actually surprised no one's texted in on that yet, because on our socials, all the armchair general managers out there, good, bad, this, that. Guy's clutch. He's a local. He's Canadian. And I don't think last year, what did he have the good he was clutch. Back-to-back 12-yard receptions on 2nd and long, final 2 minutes, week 5 against Toronto, helping with that victory. I just feel like he's a guy that you can always throw in. He's ready to go. Maybe is he on the 6th game and they pull him in and up, because I don't know how the receiver room's going to work. We talked about, it sounds like Jareth Stearns is gone. He's going to...
Was it Winnipeg?
Stearns, yeah. He had 2 touchdowns, 39 catches, 492 yards. Smaller guy, right? Is that where our boy Ruby Tuesday fits in? Wayne Ruby Jr., right? Is that maybe? I don't know if we're kind of doing the Stratomatic football game here. It's like... Okay, now we need this guy here. Tommy Neal, I was talking to guys yesterday after that signing, and guys that are way more in depth than the CFL, know what cleats guys wear and gloves and ligament that they use. And I was like, I just like 6'3", 203. That's a nice size target. If anyone's ever thrown a football to a guy, it's nice to have a big target like that. And he's got experience. And he's a 2-time bloody Grey Cup champ. So that's where I think when everyone talked about Neeld coming in, then it's like, well, that's it for Picton. That's it for Picton's gone. And it's just another sign, or, for us to just, Chikai, let the big boys handle things on the general manager side and what they're doing. And there'd be like Mark Mueller would have his say on things, and, putting a team together. And another thing people are maybe a little bit critical on, Harry, is we didn't get Eugene Lewis. We didn't get Kenny Lawler. Blow the lid off, over the top. Darian Durant talked about it. Another year, though. Another year gone by. Right? You see it in the NFL and the CFL sometimes, where it's like, well, what happened to that guy? That guy was so good last year. So it's a chess game, a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it a few weeks ago about adding the Geno Lewis or the big name to the receiving core. I think the receiving core is fine as it is or was. Like, I don't think you want to upset the apple cart just to add one guy who isn't going to make your team that much different or better. There's only so many balls to go around. And I don't know. I think it's fine that the Riders missed out on a big splash addition to the receiving core. I think they'll be just fine.
I'm predicting. Where's the book? Get the book out. Prediction book. Colson's prediction book. Big year from Dante Myers and Del Duncan Busby.
I know when Myers came, he sure made a splash. His first handful of games, he was just, I don't know whether it was just the excitement of being in Regina or having a place to play or whatever, but he was like he was shot out of a cannon those first handful of games that he played this year.
Yeah, he had only 5 games played, 24 receptions, 349 yards. It's a lot of receptions in 5 games. Again, Harris, comfort with the guys. So, hey, we miss out on a couple of the big names, but hey, they're the big names. Just, you know what? A Kirkland jean's just as nice as a 7 for All Mankind sometimes. People
made in the same
have to buy the
factory.
big... Yeah, exactly.
Made in the same factory, they just slap a different label on it.
We always, we always don't need the big name, the shiny.
No.
Yesterday, and we're talking to Glen Suitor later. I'm really curious to get the timing of the salary cap going up. Is it good for me if I'm an outsider on that and they're in this, free agency window period, and that's when you release it? It's like, well, I'm already at the mortgage office, kind of already signed the papers on the house. Now you're telling me the house has got a different price. Like, it's more beneficial for me? Unless teams knew about it. But then I think that would get leaked. Like, Justin Dunk is, as we find out, he knows everything. He's got boots on the ground, and I think that would have been released. It's nice to see, though. Now you got more money to pay. With Maz yesterday, didn't Charleston say he wouldn't spend it?
Charleston said he would keep that money, save it throughout the year. Don't tell anybody about it. No, we spent it all. Don't have it. Rainy day check, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, you're going to get a lot of guys signing with you next year.
Yeah.
No, he's cheap. He's frugal. Yeah. He's not spending all the money. Meanwhile, other teams are going, the 100,000 over or more.
270 for a DB.
270 for a DB. Marketing money. Just go with the marketing. Marketing money. It's going to be the Amar Dolman clause pretty soon, or they'll be like, well, we know what you're doing there with that marketing money. You found the loophole that I think everybody knows about, but you're just utilizing it now. So I'm curious to talk to Glen Suitor about that a little bit later. Canadian Brewhouse, it's Thursdays, pasta and uncorked Thursdays. $11.99 per pasta dish. It's a heck of a deal. $5.99 garlic parmesan knots. And speaking of getting corked, you get a 9-ounce glass of wine for the price of 6 ounce. 2 locations in Regina, 1 in Moose Jaw, and I think 3 locations in Saskatoon. Break time on the Sports Cage. If you're watching that stream, hammer the like button. If we get 15, Curtis gets garlic knots, and we are on the home of the Riders, 620 CKRM. Recap of some hockey from last night. Melfort beat Weyburn, and that was the Benny Walchuk worth the drive game of the week for Saudi Mainline Chrysler, 5-2 at home. So Melfort continues to roll. You can get a brand new Ram truck for just $49,995 and a Jeep Compass for as low as $38,686 at the new King of Trucks in Southeast Saskatchewan. Humboldt 4-1 over Estevan. Battleford's 4-2 over Notre Dame. In the Western Hockey League, Brandon dumped Wenatchee as they do their swing, 5-2. Calgary 3-1 over PA. Tough loss for the Raiders in there as they have the playoff chase. No games tonight in the AAA Midget Loop. 37 games played. Pat Canadians lead right there, 60 points. Moose Jaw's got 57. Swift Current's got 54. Then Tisdale at 50. The Blazers have fallen down to 5th place. We got AAA Midget female hockey, though, in Notre Dame. Regina Rebels are in town, 7:30. Then a couple of games in the Junior B Loop. Prairie Storm is at the Regina Capital, 7:30 at the Ritchie. Caps are 10 points up on the Storm for 2nd in the South. And we do, thanks to the fellas and ladies that run the Long Lake Hockey League Twitter account, because they attach us, we have a game tonight. Leroy Watrous, 8 p.m., game 2 of the league playoffs there. Watrous leads 1-0. Last night, it was Drake, the Meat Sweats, 7-3 over Wadena to take the series 2-1. There we go. Local hockey rundown. You don't get it anywhere here or anywhere but here on the Sports Cage. Okay, so Waste Management Open is started today, right, in Scottsdale, Arizona. I was with a client for lunch, and he was talking about he was watching it. He's like, you watching any golf today? And I'm like, no. Extremely busy, and then totally forgot that it started today. So Maz and Colson and Curtis were talking about it yesterday, just about the atmosphere. Now, I think the year we were going to go and then COVID kind of screwed all that up or something with that. Maybe it was bird flu or swine flu, something. And we didn't end up going. But you've been, I don't know if it's a couple times or whatever, and you've done the 16th hole. Did you do the sprint to the 16th hole? How does that all, and is it worth it?
Oh boy, that's a tough question. Yeah, I've been twice. Didn't have to do the run. The first year was 2013 when I went, and it was still a big deal. It was still a big thing, but it wasn't like a sprint mad dash 7 a.m. Everybody going there camping out. We sat behind the green the first year, up in the stands, great seats. So yeah, that was the first year. And then in 2016 when I went, we sat along, I guess, your third base line, right by the tee box, right in the heart of it. And it was a gong show. It's funny because they talk about last year, them cutting off the alcohol sales. That year that I went, they cut it off. It was 11 o'clock in the morning and they stopped selling liquor. Just because people were already just absolutely greased.
What?
And yeah, 11 o'clock in the morning, they stopped selling it. It was unbelievable.
Look at these guys. If you're watching the stream, they're getting ready to run.
Yeah. It's basically the exact opposite of Augusta. Like Augusta, you can't run, right? You can speed walk. Here, it's just Thunderdome. It's absolutely every man for themselves, survival of the fittest, trampling. Like It's a
that's what
gong
I'm looking
show.
at.
Yeah,
People are
it's
losing shoes.
Yeah.
Do you just leave
it.
that
You can get
shoe?
another
Do you
pair
go
of
back and
shoes. Yeah.
do you go
No,
back
leave
and
it.
get
Leave
it?
No.
So you walk
Get it at
around
the
in one
end of the day.
shoe like some weirdo all day?
Yeah. Well, chances are you're going to be greased by 9 o'clock, so you don't really even care that
Drinking
you
out of
only
the other
have
one.
shoe. Yeah, you only have one shoe on. That's fine. It's not my thing. I know that they say like it's a big bucket list experience. I really don't. If you're a true golf person, it's not a bucket list thing. If you're a dude who likes to party and be absolutely buck wild, then yes, it's the place for you. 2013 was a lot simpler times, I guess. It's not that long ago, but it was fun then. So there's the little subtle things that they've changed. So back in 2013 when I went, you had little grannies in the stands too. They had caddy races. So every time the guys came, you got 3 caddies. So you'd bet a color. So everybody in the stands is betting dollars. I got green, I got white, I got yellow. So you're betting on the caddy races. And that was super fun. Just dollars. It's something to do to pass the time. And the caddies loved it. And then they got rid of it. The hitting the green, that's changed. So it used to be you hit the green, you got cheered. You missed the green, you got booed. But then it evolved into like, oh, you're on the green, but it's still not that close, so we're going to boo. So it became like just booing for the sake of booing, where it kind of got away from what it was originally intended as. Like, you cheered for the good things, but it was like you had to hit it within 2 feet to get a cheer because people just became a-holes about it. Like, it just morphed into this circus, chaotic atmosphere. So when I went in 2016, I was like, been there, done that. I do not need to go back. And then you hear stories from the last few years and it's just gotten off the rails. Like, it was enough in 2016. Like, I can't even imagine what it was like last year.
Well, what was the big thing last year? Like, was
The weather.
Okay. But
the weather caused so many delays that people had nothing to do but drink. And then it was wet and sloppy. So places where you could used to be able to sit, you couldn't anymore. So there's like no room for anybody. No room to walk around. The delays caused people just to do nothing but drink for hours and hours and hours. And so it just became this perfect storm where chaos just reigned supreme.
So if you're on 16,
yeah.
See, I don't know, and I'm 48. So maybe when you're in your 20s and you got to pedal down all day. And that's like the thing. I remember when we were going to go, I wanted to go Thursday to 16 or Friday. And then really, I'm good. Experienced what you wanted. And then the other 2 days, take me somewhere golfing in the West Valley or far away from this place. So if you are not absolutely buckied, it wouldn't be. And if we all know, hey, we all are there. When you're the only sober guy and you're somewhere, whether you're driving your buddies on a road trip or wherever, it just becomes annoying. And that would be thousands of people.
Yeah. And I made the mistake of going on the Saturday both times. So that's the green out day. That's their big day, was the Saturday, right? So it attracts the most amount of people who care the least amount about golf. And it just becomes how hammered can I get in the shortest span of time? And technically there's golf going on around me, but I could really care less. And it is too bad because it used to be really cool. Like, the players used to remark, like, some of the people dig deep for their chants and their jeers. Like, they do their homework. They're exposing things like, these guys, like, I only told 5 people this, and somehow these idiots in the stands know things about me. They're
getting heckled.
Short of like knowing their PIN numbers and stuff like that. Like, they know the most intimate details about these guys, and they would heckle with them with that. And that was when it was good. But then it just got out of control. I mean, even for me, I think that in 2022 with Damon and Higgs taking off their shirts and the people when Ryder got his hole in one, absolutely bombarding the beer around, like, it just got stupid. It just got stupid in my mind.
It's definitely not for, and there's a lot of people out there, and I haven't even looked at the text line. They're probably like, you guys are nerds,
right?
Prudes.
I am a nerd.
And, hey,
I'll admit it.
I'm too old for that. it's like going to a club in Vegas or somewhere. Yeah, that ship sailed.
Here's my thing, and this applies to a lot of things, especially when drinking is the centerpiece of it. I can drink. I'm an adult. I can drink anytime. I can drink right now. I can drink tonight. I can get hammered in my basement tomorrow if I really wanted to. I don't get to go to the Waste Management Open every day. So if I go, I want to like enjoy the experience of going to it. I don't need to get absolutely obliterated in order to enjoy it. The event is the enjoyment. So that's where the difference is for me, is that I want to go and enjoy it, not be, and I'm a lightweight, so I don't want to be barfing before I even see 5 groups like this guy. I don't want to be barfing.
This is one of the, I'd have no idea how, if you're watching the stream, how did this guy keep it together?
It's amazing. It's a feat. Defies the laws of physics, really. So for me, it's more about the event than it is the drinking. Whereas for these people that go, it's way more about the drinking than it is the event. And that's just the difference between me and 95% of the population.
What about, did you ever, because the Bird's Nest is like the arena or tent or where the concerts are. Like I've seen pictures of that. And I remember it's like, hey, we're going to go. And then I saw the pictures and I'm like, oh man, like it is an absolute shoulder to shoulder zoo. It's like a rave in someone's garage back in 1999.
Yeah. No, zero interest in it. It's just, it's not on my scene.
It would have to be an artist that it's on the bucket list. Like there's always like rave night. Then there's always a country act, but the country act isn't really a country act. Like you're not going to see Tracy Lawrence and Mark Chestnut.
No,
it's
it's not your traditional country act.
Where people are probably like just thinking, you guys are no fun. I've played the course though, with the stands up, and it was a lot tougher than I thought it would be. Because I always thought it's like, these guys are going out there shooting really low numbers, and then I think it was like late December, a month before the tournament. And rough was thick, playing long. Stands were like hitting to that par 3 is awesome with the stands up. Even guys hammering away at it. So the course was okay. Like without the stands and everything up, I'd give you $70.
Yeah, that's the thing about the golf course too. Like I played it a week after the event in 2013. But the golf course itself is very, very, very unremarkable. Other than 15, 16, 17, 18, it's totally skippable. There is nothing exceptional about it. It's very generic. There's houses on the front 9 around it. Like it's just like any other area course that you can play. Like there's nothing spectacular about it.
If you squint, it looks like Tor Hill with houses. We gotta come back. We got to get to this NHL survey that came out in The Athletic, which is very interesting. It's the SportsCage on Thursdays for Access Communications, trusted in rural Saskatchewan for internet, TV, and home security. And we are streaming on solid access internet at sportscage.com. We started the show with Marcus Sayles. You can go back, listen to that in podcast form. Also, we'll run it again in hour 3 out of Ryder Camp today. Signing of homegrown receiver Mitch Picton. We'll talk more about that, and Glen Suitor's coming up in hour 3. All right. So last time you were on, it was the Athletic story about how video games and doing gummies has taken over partying and gambling and basically going, NHL road trip like the 16th hole at the Waste Management. And then this week with the Athletic, I'm still holding out, not buying a subscription. And every time you text me something, you're like, Athletic, you're probably like, just buy a subscription, you cheap miser. Okay, so this is what. How do you preface it? How did it come out?
So I think they try to do it every year, but it's every 2 years at least. They do an NHL player survey where they basically, on the condition of anonymity, they poll players to kind of get their real gauge on how they feel about the league. They do it in dribs and drabs. They do players too. Who's the dirtiest player? Who's the overrated? Yada yada. But so far this week, all that they've really focused on is the teams and personnel and organizations. So
the first question, so we're gonna play, and if you're out there, if you're watching the stream, you get to play along. If you're in Radio Land, you can play along. This is kind of gonna be like trivia, a little bit. Chris is gonna ask the question. So the first question that came, very nice job, guys. All right, so the first question I know the answer to, and I would have got this. I would have bet 6 farms on it. What was the question?
If you have a no trade list, what's the first team on it?
Winnipeg.
100%.
Sorry, people in Winnipeg. Let's be honest. You don't even want to be there.
No, and they've always been number 1 on this list for as long as I've seen it. One guy who basically said, I've never heard a guy go to Winnipeg and be like, this is going to be my forever home. So it's also entertaining because the players give honest responses. They're like, bad food, nothing to do, freezing cold. Like, they're just honest about it.
It's a bigger Regina. Like, we can't talk about much, right?
No.
It's like, do you know where else you can play? Okay, we can go. We got 2 hours to talk about that. Okay, what's the next question? I'm going to get stumped.
What coach would you most like to play for other than your own?
Paul Maurice.
Close. He was number 2. Number 1 was John Cooper.
Okay.
So 23%. Paul Maurice, 15%, just about 15%. Then Rod Brindamore and Craig Berube rounding out. People just said they like Cooper's persona. Just seems like he's good to play for. Then on the other side of the spectrum, it's what coach would you least like to play for?
Wow, Tortorella would be an easy guess, but I don't know. When was this done? Was Todd McClellan coaching yet?
I was done from December 20th to February 2nd.
I'll go Laviolette.
No, he's actually quite low. You should have went with your instinct.
Tortorella?
Torts. Yeah, 40, almost 40%. But it's funny because in the previous question, lots of people were curious about Tortorella. They're like, I'd like to experience him. They were kind of like, I'd like to just see it for myself. But they also said that but there's lots of guys that defended him, saying that they've heard that he's got his teams back and he'll take care of his players. But then this Bruce Cassidy one is interesting because Vegas has been a good team for years, but a lot of the guys surveyed were like, I've never heard anybody say anything good about Bruce Cassidy. So I think that's a story that's building.
I forgot about Patrick Waugh too. He was on that list.
And it's funny that Babcock still makes the list, even though he's not coaching.
Okay, next one.
What NHL team has the best facilities for opposing teams? So your room, your dressing room, your gym, your warm-up area, anything like that.
Oh, I'm gonna go one of the newer teams. I'll go Las Vegas. No. Can you give me a hint on this one? Western or Eastern Conference?
Eastern Conference.
New. Florida.
Detroit.
Oh, yeah.
But it is new. Like the theme is new buildings. So you got Detroit, Seattle, Edmonton, and then Vegas and New York rounding out the top 5. So it is new facilities. Like a lot of them were really blown away by the gyms. Because in Detroit, they let them use the NBA gym that's in the facility. So the guys were blown away by a lot of those. So then conversely, the next question would be, what NHL team has the worst facilities?
Madison Square Garden?
No, they are on the list. It's funny because one of the guys that plays for this team...
Calgary.
One of the guys... Just wait. One of the guys that plays for this team was like, I'm pretty sure it's going to be us. Like, they know. Calgary was second.
Winnipeg? Ottawa?
No. Overwhelmingly, Carolina.
Really? So you've never been there?
65%.
Wow.
They just said it's funny because they just did an upgrade. They said they added about 2 feet of width. And the guys are like, yeah, it used to be Carolina, but then they upgraded, and now somehow it's still Carolina. Yeah, not very happy with that. Then they asked, do you like the idea of an in-season tournament like the NBA?
Can we got to go. I think how many questions do we have left? This is fun.
I think 5.
Okay, let's table this.
5.
What was the question? So I got like 40 minutes to think about it.
Do you like the idea of an in-season tournament like the NBA?
No. Carolina. What was the 2 feet thing that you said, or adding?
They expanded. They renovated the visitors' dressing room. And they added about 2 feet of width, which was like, why would you even bother?
Man, what a great game. It's gonna be a new segment when Harry comes on. Trivia with Harry. After the news, where we found out about Kendrick Lamar at 3:00, we are gonna have Arash Madani from the Super Bowl. He literally just texted me and said, "Can I come at 10 after? Traffic is nuts." So hopefully he's got some good stories. It's been 48 hours since we talked to him. We need some good. We need some good Super Bowl stories out
That's
of Arash.
enough time to get kidnapped and rescued.
Yeah, and get back at her. It is a Sports Cage. We're streaming at sportscage.com and on the home of sports trivia in the province, 620 CKRM. Hour 2 of the program. It's Barney, Shynkaruk, Harry, CNC. If you're driving home, making your way home, just tuning in, thanks for tuning in. Don't watch the stream when you're driving. Probably not a good thing to listen on the radio. Just some news coming down. Allegedly, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have agreed to terms with former Rider receiver Jareth Stearns. What did he have? 2 touchdowns, 39 catches, 492 yards last year. Sounds like we are losing our offensive lineman, Peter Godber. Ottawa Red Blacks, they're going to need some sort of protection to try and get the ball to Eugene Lewis. So it sounds like Peter Godber's on his way to Ottawa. He was here for 2 years, right, Coulson, you said? We had 2 years?
Peter Godber, yeah.
He's older than I thought, too. Adam Auclair, linebacker, seems to be switching to the BC Lions. And then Mitch Picton signing with the Riders. So all you people that thought Mitch Picton was done when we signed Niels, he's back. But the one news 3 Down Nation had today, I love it. Be a cowboy, Sean Lemon. He's hit with additional suspension for violating the CFL's drug policy. So he's suspended indefinitely for gambling, which, again, hey, be a cowboy, whatever. And then now, in case a team picks him up and he's allowed to play, he's got to serve 2 games. Is it 2, Coulson? I think it was 2, right?
Yeah. So if he gets reinstated and a team picks him up, he then serves a 2-game suspension for the drug infringement and then gets to play again. So,
hey.
One might say he doubled down. Pun intended.
Yeah. So get this one. Tested positive for the banned substance, and I'm sorry out there, all you weight loss pill takers. What is it called? Phenermine? Does that sound correct? Anyways, it's a common weight loss drug. That's what he's getting suspended for. Come on. I thought for sure it was going to be like, poor guys wrapped up in black tar heroin or something. But no, it's a weight loss drug, and he gets 2 games for that. Very interesting. So there's some CFL news for you. Super Bowl is coming up Sunday. Let's go to our friend Arash, who is actually in New Orleans.
The all-new Sports Cage and Coast to Coast with Arash Madani is brought to you by Smart Investing Solutions. Be smart with your money. Call Brian Golly at Smart Investing Solutions, 546-2533.
There you go. Oh, you're still in the automobile. I thought you'd be back at your loft by now. If you're watching the stream, we've already lost him once. This is going to go really well.
Yeah, this is going to be deadly.
He says traffic is so bad. He can't get to the hotel. You ever been to New Orleans?
No.
Yeah, it wasn't. Maz was talking yesterday, and I listened back to the program and podcast for him like you could do every day, and it was he basically painted a picture that you don't really want to go there. I think that's what Curtis was out on New Orleans, but we talked to him on Tuesday. Arash said it's an event city, and I can see that. Arash, so is traffic that bad? Like you're just not moving?
We're almost there, Barney. We're almost there. By the way, I saw the same Sean Lemon thing you guys did, and I'm like, does Sean just have a big weekend in Vegas where he was making some wagers and getting a little, just over-serving himself on all the fun stuff? This seems like Randy on his way out is hell-bent on just getting Sean Lemon to be the bad guy, Like,
yeah,
it's just bizarre.
They're just digging up dirt. But yeah, maybe it was in Vegas or even better yet, Laughlin or Reno, somewhere sketchy. If you're going to do sketchy stuff, go to one of those two Nevada towns and then hop in an Uber and they take you to some weird place to buy weight loss drugs. How are things going there for you in New Orleans?
Things are well. The players, tomorrow's the last day of practice. They'll have a walkthrough and a final team meeting on Saturday. And then this is kind of like Grey Cup, too. This is why I like Grey Cup in Vancouver more than anywhere else. It's the long wait on Saturday for kickoff. Like, you got to wake up and wait after 2 weeks to finally put that football on the tee and go. But it was
You
final
said
media
Saturday.
availability
You mean
for
Sunday.
Players.
You said Saturday.
Sunday, sorry.
You mean Sunday.
Yeah.
I was going to be like, did I
final
miss something?
No, like they have their final walkthrough Saturday, final team meetings Saturday, and then you got to wait forever, for Sunday to roll around. And you're just a bundle of nerves and a bundle of energy. And you have to actually preserve it because it's such a long day and it's such a long night.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've always wondered, and the two that I went to, the one that I was in Arizona, and it rained. Like it was weird February rain. Like the golfing sucked, and then it got better. But I was like, they moved their practices indoors, Patriots in Seattle, and I was like, maybe it's just the paranoia in me, and I'm like, don't get hurt. No, nobody important get hurt this week, please. You chatted a bit with Saquon Barkley yesterday. Did he give you any advice on where we should sprinkle?
He did not. He did not Sean Lemon his way through the conversation. Does that now become a verb, lemoning? So here's what I found interesting, guys. Like, we know Saquon for, those home run hits and like the big runs and the big plays. But the one thing he said was, because my question to him was, what does it do to an offense when you do this? When you run up, a 65-yard run or just kind of impose your will? And he said, it's not about what it does to an offense. He's like, what it does to a defense is that it breaks their will. And I never quite heard it put that way before, but think about it. If you're the Rams in the divisional playoff, if you're Washington in the NFC Championship game, if you can't stop the run and everybody in the stadium knows the ball is going to 26, think about how that just completely can just crush you. So what does Kansas City have in store? I mean, we'll see. I think it's going to be a lot of linebackers getting the edge to try and contain them. I think they're going to bring an extra defensive back downhill to try and tackle them. But that, to me, was the takeaway line, that when everybody in the stadium knows the running back's getting the ball and you can still dominate, that's when you break their will.
Yeah, my first thought would be, oh man, it's going to be a long day. It is going to be a long day if this is how we're starting.
Yeah, 100%. And sorry, I'm just getting out of the Uber here into the sunshine. I'll tell you this. To me, this is going to come down to, will Jalen Hurts be able to win this football game with his arm and with his legs? Like, you get the sense that Kansas City is just going to come out and say, okay, we're going to stop the run. That's our game plan here. And Jalen, can you do it? Because I don't know about you guys. I think that because Saquon is such an important part of what they do, that Kansas City is going to be okay with going man-to-man out there on the perimeter with Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. And I don't think that Steve Spagnuolo really feels that Hurts can beat them in the option game and in the run game. They're going to take their chances there. And so if you can stop Barkley, here's the other thing about the KC defense. 18 straight playoff games, they haven't allowed a 100-yard rusher. So why are they going to deviate now when stopping the run has been their absolute DNA?
This is for a game that I could really care less because I don't like both teams, but I got to lean one way. That is what I'm really curious to watch, is how does the defensive mastermind in Kansas City, Steve Spagnuolo, how does he stop things? And then how does the chess game go? Are they gonna let Hurts run? Are they gonna use the tight end more? Are they gonna surprise everybody and go over the top when no one expects it? You know, and okay, so question to you, and
let me add one more thing, Barney. Let me add one more thing. If you are able to get a little bit of your run game going, at what point do you start incorporating play action to get those linebackers and DBs to bite and then go for your big shot? That's to me, the play action game is such a big part of this. And Saquon's pretty good at catching the ball out of the backfield. So this is like, there's a lot of layers to this and a lot of different ways this can go, especially if Philadelphia early is able to move the football.
He's like James White. He can catch it out of the backfield. He can run it. So speaking of James White,
did you just compare the NFL MVP to James White? Is that what just happened here?
Okay, hold on. Let me wrap this all up here. But it was for years, and I think it started with my beloved Patriots, where it was like the running backs, LeGarrette Blount, cast off, let him run the ball. Rex Burkhead, let him run the ball. But now we've kind of come back to this, and then it was the Patriots that started this whole tight end thing. Now we've kind of come back to this. Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry. What has all this done for the running back market?
And don't forget Christian McCaffrey. Before the Achilles, Christian McCaffrey was the NFL MVP. Look, I think that, well, let's be real. What was happening here is that it was basically collusion among NFL owners and GMs who said, we don't want to pay the running back anymore. They were openly and actively diminishing the role, just saying, plug and play, dime a dozen, anybody can do this. And now the best of the best have shown you just what a myth that is. Like, just think about it through this lens. Not just that New York let him go, not just that the Giants weren't willing to pay him $12 million, which the Eagles happily did, but that these genius talent evaluators, these magnificent executives, these brilliant minds did not think that Saquon Barkley was worth what the 10th highest paid safety in the NFL is making.
That's a good point.
Now you tell me who matters more to their football team than this apparent dime a dozen plug and play running back who in the snow, who in the playoffs, who throughout the year is able to do what he's doing. Like, it's the exact same Philly roster when it comes to offensive skilled guys as last year, except the team that started 10-1 and fell off the cliff, is now in the Super Bowl because of the one difference, Saquon. So hope the 10th highest paid safety money was worth it, because I think it was.
So just to play devil's advocate, and because I'm the last person who's going to stick up for owners in any type of argument when it comes to sports, does it not seem, this is just my guess, that the shelf life of running backs has gotten considerably shorter in the NFL? So the hesitation to pay a guy a lot of money, when, especially guaranteed money, when they don't have that long of a shelf life, they figure if we surround ourselves with a lot of other weapons, maybe overpay for receivers or something, we can get away with having a second-rate running back. And so we're hesitant to pay a running back who might only last 2 seasons a lot of money.
Yeah. So to that, I would say 2 things. One, this is year 7 for Saquon in the NFL. 2, you know what the median NFL career is? Position,
5
forget
years.
position by position.
4.3.
5 years.
8 games.
5 years.
8 games. 8 games.
We were off.
Sean
Lemon would have nailed that, though.
Yeah. He would have taken the over.
8 games.
There are a litany of people here today, gone tomorrow, special teamers you've never heard of, on and off the practice roster, et cetera, et cetera. Like, look, pro sports, what is pro sports? It is the what have you done for me lately? What are you doing for me now business? If honestly, if you're in the Philadelphia front office right now, do you care about 2027 over the next 72 hours and what your cap situation is? Or would you do anything? This is win when you can, because you never know. Like, bless the Raptors. 2019, they win the championship. They have been an unmitigated disaster since. But they have the banner, they have the rings, they have the championship. Win when you can, because you never know, and the running back's going to help you win.
And then with the running back thing, and this is obviously common sense, if you don't have any resemblance of a strong offensive line, you are throwing your money right down the drain. Like if your offensive line is the skinny guys on Nintendo Ice Hockey, and I don't care who you have in the backfield, it ain't gonna work. What's the story on this?
And let me just add one little thing. One sec, Barney, to that. It's a great point. And here's what else is interesting, because you think about the last couple of weeks with Philly, Cam Jurgens had the injury, Landon Dickerson left the NFC Championship game. Both full practice yesterday. And yesterday's the big day, right? It's your first one back. You've landed in the host city, et cetera, et cetera. This may be, like, if you have Dickerson, Jurgens, Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, like, that is, in terms of your top 4 offensive linemen, that's got to be the best in football, and they're all ready to rock.
Yeah. What is the story on Brandon Graham, who tore his tricep in late November?
So you tear your tricep, your season's over.
Haven't you done that, Harry?
Bicep.
Okay.
Now, he did this in late November, and he's a 15-year vet, fellas. 1-5. So the thought was, man, it's not just that his season is over. His career may be done. And you spend time around the Eagles, these players will tell you there's not a more or a bigger heart and soul player in their entire locker room, not just their defense, on the entire team, than Brandon Graham. And 6 weeks after the injury, he started to get range of motion in his arm and his shoulder. He was doing push-ups without issue. He started aggressively kind of attacking that rehab. And he started going around the locker room telling guys, hey, look, you get to the Super Bowl. I'll be there with you. And Zach Bond, actually, the linebacker for the Eagles, said that was part of our kind of mission, our goal was to get BG to the Super Bowl. So last week, activated off IR, flying around a practice. He broke down the team at the end of practice, and he might play on Sunday. Like, the guy who is the Eagles' all-time record holder for most games played may play his last one in maybe the most important game of the history of the franchise. It's pretty amazing.
Before you go, Harry, to that, imagine if he wasn't in the NFL where that games played or medium games played of 8 would go to. He's been 15 years, might go down
Right.
to 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in that situation, it's a perfect example of how that extra week is beneficial, because an extra week of rest from anything is great. But does it not seem that, and you're there, Arash, you can probably speak to this week is draining. Wouldn't these guys just rather get on with it rather than have to take this whole extra week to do the media day that's a circus on Monday and just, it's an extra week of just busyness. It seems like busy work.
Yeah, and it's not, it is, absolutely. And on top of that, like there's so much more kind of mental energy you have to expend because you're stuck in a hotel, you're not at home, you're not in your home facility or team facility. There's a lack of familiarity. There's, more family and more people pulling you in different directions. It's different. And that's, but the hoopla is all part of the Super Bowl. All of this is part of the Super Bowl. And that's why it's unique. That's why it's, as big event as it is. I usually find by Friday, everyone's ready for a football game. Put the ball on the tee, let's go. And so here we are.
But it's like when McDonald's or 7-Eleven spends money on advertising. Do they really need to advertise? Like Super Bowl doesn't need any more hype. It's not like there's people like, oh, what's this Super Bowl I've been hearing so much about? Maybe I'll check it out. Like there's not a lot of first timers coming to the Super Bowl. So like, I don't know. What is the point of the extra week other than to build hype?
As a marketing guy, there'd be a whole other week that you can go and sell said advertising to some of these people to be like, hey, you're sponsoring the media den. You're sponsoring this night. You're sponsoring this luncheon. Cha-ching, cha-ching.
Cha-ching. It is the ultimate corporate sponsorship event. It's the ultimate corporate hospitality event. From a football standpoint, you also want to, the extra week can help guys be top shelf, top shape, all those kinds of things. Just wait, guys. They're going to expand the season to 18 games, and the Super Bowl is going to get delayed an extra week because what the NFL wants more than anything is for the day after the Super Bowl to be a national holiday. It's Family Day in Canada. It's President's Day in the United States. The Super Bowl that not long ago, half a generation ago was played in January is now going to go into the middle of February, where it's going to be a national holiday.
When does the UFL? What's the spring football league start? I saw an ad for that. Oh, yeah. No one's watching that junk. Hey, I got a couple of Cincinnati Bengal fans, and Joe Burrow, he's not happy.
No, and he shouldn't be. I mean, the Bengals have notoriously forever been the cheapest organization in professional sports, and Joe's had enough of it. And he just came out today and said, look, we have Jamar Chase, we have T. Higgins, we have Trey Hendrickson. We need all three of them. We made it to the Super Bowl a few years ago. We did it because we had players. And Burrow is like, pay Jamar, pay Higgins, pay Hendrickson, or there are going to be consequences. And look, we already saw it this week. Myles Garrett said, I wanted to win in Cleveland. I did everything possible to win in Cleveland. It's not going to happen in Cleveland. Cincinnati's just down the street. And if Chase leaves, if Higgins leaves, if Hendrickson leaves, we're talking about three of the most important, best players at their positions in the league. How long will it be before Joe Burrow wants out, especially in this kind of player empowerment era? Joe made his his voice heard, and here we are.
Man, it's hard to believe. You almost forget about how good they were a few years ago.
They got to they had a 2-score lead in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I took them the year after on a future. What an idiot.
How'd that go for you? Yeah.
It would be tough on him. You're thinking, what am I even here for? if we're not going to win or build a win, like, what am I doing here? Why would I stay?
Yeah,
I can see the frustration.
Like Carson Palmer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are we doing here, people?
No dome. Cheap owners. Yeah.
What'd you bring me here for?
What? At the end of the day, I don't know what we talked about on Tuesday, and I said I was going to leave the gambling stuff till Thursday. So if you're listening out there and you don't like gambling, I don't know what you're doing on Sunday. I like anytime touchdown score at plus 300 right now on Cool Bet for Goddard.
Dallas Goddard, I like that too.
Anytime. What are you eyeballing?
I like Dallas Goddard over yards. I like Dallas Goddard in the end zone. I think that because there's going to be such a focus on Saquon, I think the middle of the field is going to be open. And maybe besides or along with Travis Kelce, I don't think there's a tight end who can feel and find space better than 88 for Philadelphia. I like that one a lot. I like Eagles team sacks over. When you look at what the biggest difference for Philadelphia has been overall, not just one position, is that entire pass rush has gone from an older team 2 years ago to a bunch of first and second round picks. You know, Jalen Carter's a big part of what they do there. He's in the middle of it. Jordan Davis is just a monster. I think they get to Mahomes. I know Joe Tooney's gotten away with it at left tackle so far. I can't see that continuing throughout the night. So I think Philly's defense, everyone's talking about Spagnuolo and KC's defense. You understand why. But I just think Philly's defensive front can wreck, and they basically have Zach Bond standing up, and he can come after the quarterback too. So they can blitz and bring some linebackers along the way.
Taylor Swift specials. Quarter of the game, Taylor Swift is first shown live on the Fox broadcast.
Oh,
First quarter, yeah.
What does that pay? Minus 750 for the first quarter?
minus 588.
There you go.
Main color of Taylor Swift's top, also known as a blouse, at the Super Bowl. Red heavy favorite. Blues plus 3,000. And
what's green pay?
Black on there? Green.
Black plus 5. Black is plus 500. And then the other Taylor Swift one on Cool Bet here is Super Bowl MVP to mention Taylor Swift in a speech.
Oh God.
Yeah. There's main color of Tom Brady's tie is another one. There's some really good ones.
Now here's a question. Are these impermissible as well for a player to wager on? Like, are you thrown out of the league if you bet on Taylor Swift's wardrobe?
Tom Brady's tie. Yeah.
Let's ask Sean Lemon.
Yes. We should try and get him on the program. I heard he yelled at somebody recently on social media. Okay, we have to. I don't know if you read this in The Athletic. We're doing trivia with Harry today. This is what Harry, pose him the first question from that. He's going to get it right. I wonder if he knows the second location on that list though.
You have a no trade clause in your contract as a player. Where's the number one team you refuse to go to on that? If you
which sport?
Hockey. NHL.
Come on. It's such an easy answer.
What? Okay, I'm on Regina Radio. Winnipeg it is.
What's two,
Correct.
though? Oh. We jumped the gun. San Jose at 3, surprising.
Oh, man, I would love to play in San Jose. That'd be fine.
Yeah.
Think about, like, where you're living. That's a big part of this. I guess Wisconsin doesn't have an NHL team. You don't want to be anywhere near there.
Throw that back up, Curtis. Please.
I mean, 3 of the top 6 are Canadian.
5 years ago, Edmonton would have been on this list. For sure.
Yes.
Right.
for sure. See, heavy tax, and all these places, heavy tax rates, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that Anaheim's there, but Los Angeles isn't.
Mm-hmm.
I can't
Coliseum
believe the
Park.
Rangers are in that list.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Hey, and it's 2%. I mean, that's not nothing.
Yeah.
Also
I would never say
receiving-
Columbus because I root for the Blue Jackets, but
Oh, write that down in the book. His team's Columbus. All right. How's the how's the food situation? Everything good down there? The stomach's good? Because it'd be a wild ride. All the different flavors.
We're going for crawfish and gumbo and alligator tonight, Barney.
I was going to say
God, is that
alligator
gross.
bites, baby. Alligator bites.
Oh,
Yeah.
is that gross? Oh, not a chance.
Yeah. No, looking forward to it.
Yeah. Okay,
We're
well,
looking forward to it.
have fun
When
at
in
the
Rome.
game. Yeah. Say hi to
boys.
say hi to your boy Pat for me.
And to Tay.
Yeah, sure.
Much
And her
love.
black tarp. Okay, see you, Arash.
See you, boys. All right.
Enjoy.
Coast to Coast with Arash Madani for Brian Golly, Smart Investing Solutions. Be smart with your money. Call Brian Golly, Smart Investing Solutions, 546-2533. Let's take a break. We come back. A little clutch performer time. It's the Sports Cage, streaming at sportscage.com. Clutch performer for Nick Service in Emerald Park. Your local Massey Ferguson, Challenger, Rogator, Gleaner, and Fent dealer. Call 781-1077. As the boys get a video ready for the one, I got to say, one of my clutch performers, Sean Lemon. Like, what did you say? What did you say, Colson? You put it in a good way.
He found out that you can have an indefinite suspension plus 2 games. Like, that's impressive, man.
Yeah. It's like dying and then dying again. It's not possible. But yeah, so but it is, I guess. If he comes back, now he's got to serve a 2-game suspension for violating the CFL Players Association and CFL drug policy. Why? Apparently, he got busted using a common weight loss drug. All right. Sean's a cowboy. I like him. We try and get him on the show. He should be like the Rash said, what would Lemon sprinkle on? Do we have the Kreider goal? You're a Rangers fan, Harry. Did you see this Kreider goal last night?
I did.
Watch where he comes from. If you're watching the stream. Like, he is that kid that's just faster than anyone else. Then he takes it off his skate and scores. Pivotal goal. Rangers big win. Brad Marchand awful penalty early in the third period there. I had the Rangers, so I was happy.
Trocheck's goal was nice too.
Yeah.
I like him too. Vinny Trocheck. I'd take him any day.
I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, though, still. It's interesting.
Be tight.
Very interesting. Clutch performer for Nick Service in Emerald Park. Your local Massey Ferguson, Challenger, Rogator, Gleaner, and Fent dealer. We got Gary in Winnipeg. Oh, I thought Gary was going to say something else. About Winnipeg being... But Gary's a smart gentleman. Gary knows. If Gary was playing in the NHL, Gary wouldn't want to play in Winnipeg.
Right. Gary knows.
Yeah, hey, I get they love the team, but...
Sure.
Yeah.
I didn't say
Donald
worse
Trump
fans.
Yeah, no, great fans. Good little barn, too. Really nice little barn. Donald Trump will be attending the Super Bowl game. How will that affect the game? Gary in Winnipeg says. I don't think it will at all. But there's some crazy stat that, like, no president has ever gone to the Super Bowl or something.
No sitting president?
No sitting president.
I think that's what it was. Yeah. I imagine it'll affect security a little bit, just like for higher up end of things. I imagine the average fan, it's going to be the exact same, but what do I know?
He was at that Alabama-Georgia game that I went to in Tuscaloosa, and then the box he was in had special glass, special lighting. Gentleman I was with was like, I bet you that's where Trumpy's going to be. And then sure enough, he was there. Thanks, Gary, for the text. Paul said, went to high school in Ituna a way back, played 9-man at the time in Foam Lake, Wadena, Wynyard. Good stuff there. The security thing, Super Bowl security thing, I think you guys were talking about it yesterday. There is like which makes sense in this day and age, and the weirdos and just the bad people and all that. No matter how many, show love or whatever they put on the field in the NFL and on their helmets and whatever garbage, there's bad people out there. So there's the security line, obviously, to get really to the security line, and then you go through the metal detectors and all that. The Houston one's a bit of a blur. That was cool. But the Arizona one, because I don't know if you guys have been, but Harry, that the area where the hockey rink was or is, and the Westgate area, so it was pretty cordoned off in front of the football stadium. But I remember we just got there and we were walking. It would have been basically like you were going to the hockey game, because to the bar areas. And all of a sudden you look up because there's a sound. You looked up and there was like a Black Hawk helicopter with dudes sitting outside with machine guns, not gun guys, so I don't know exactly what they're holding, but they look like they could do damage. And they were like 15 feet, it felt, above your head, and they were just going around the crowd. Like, obviously it was a little bit higher up, but you could see clear as day. And then just everything else, like you weren't going anywhere near there with anything suspicious. Probably the safest I've ever felt, where a lot of people were like, "Oh, you're going to the Super Bowl, it'd be scary." No, like no one's getting in anywhere. Same thing when I went to Boston for the games 1 and 2 of the World Series in 2013. Like, you weren't getting anywhere near, and that was the year of the Boston bombing. So there was like SWAT team, army, like, yeah, really, really, really safe. What was it? Security at the Waste Management. That's, I don't know. Do you remember? Was it? Because we looked at the video that Curtis had of the people ready to run in. Like, obviously there would be a security checkpoint before that, but is it pretty lax there or tight or?
Yeah, it's not tight. They do the bag check, and that is really about it. And then on the grounds, it's just your event security that you would normally have. I mean, they have a few more because there's 200,000 people on the grounds, but nothing that you'd be like, oh, there's a lot of security. It's pretty heavy-handed out here. Like, definitely nothing like that. I mean, the people to security is probably, God, I don't even want to estimate, because I'd look like a doofus if I'm way off. But yeah, like 1,000 to 1, 2,000 to 1 security to people. Like, I don't even know. Like, it's,
if you're watching this, if you're watching the stream, and this is obviously early in the morning because the sun's still not up, and I don't even, like, what do you equate that to? That it's like, looks like New Year's Eve in Times Square, and people just running to go and get drunk and watch suspect February golf. And then this guy, absolute beauty. How this guy never fell. He should work for Cirque du Soleil. If you've ever seen the drunk guy walking at the Waste Management, that's what's on the video right now on the stream.
And it's crazy, because I wish we were in a commercial that I could look it up so I could at least speak to it. But I know that they prohibited rush seating events for concerts 30 years ago because of events like that, people getting trampled because it was just a land rush, right? And so general admission isn't a thing anymore for that reason.
The people that were losing their shoes and dropping, and you know what? The guys that are all dressed in the Where's Waldo, and the guys, at least you're going to find your buddies. But you would think the trampling, how hasn't anyone been seriously injured or killed in that?
Well, last year there were injuries. That's one of the things that sparked the changes that they were making this year. And then basically they drew that line and were like, this isn't okay anymore. Like, we've crossed over into another realm where this isn't just a golf thing anymore. It's like people are getting hurt. People are getting seriously injured. We've got to make some changes, which is good. Their slogan this year was good. I like it. Their slogan this year is better, not bigger.
Really?
And they stopped, like, because in 2018 they stopped revealing the attendance because it became a big thing, right? Like 200,000 people, 210,000 people, 215,000 people. We set the attendance record, so they stopped after 2018. It's just basically, it's like McDonald's stopped putting over 1 billion served. Just like, yeah, we've served a lot of people. We get it. There's a lot of people here on the weekend. For the week, we get a lot. Like, we don't have to tell you the number anymore. Like, who cares at this point? Nobody cares. You're doing well.
Everybody's still coming. And then now they do concerts like leading up on the 16th hole at night, like before the tournament, like last weekend or whatever. Like Jason Aldean played. Yeah, it's like, marketing wise, smart, and just suck them in. However,
they do make a lot of money for charity. That's for sure.
Yeah, the Thunderbirds.
The Thunderbirds. They do make a lot of money. I think they made 17.5 million last year.
Wow,
that's pretty good. But at what cost?
Yeah,
if somebody dies, but you made 17 million, like, you'd be like, maybe we could be happy with 15 and nobody dies.
Better, not bigger.
Yeah.
This year. We'll run down some local hockey, what's going on locally in the area. When we come back from break, thanks to everyone who's been streaming and hitting that like button. Curtis is trying to get up to 15 for the Parmesan garlic knots at the Canadian Brew House this evening. It is the SportsCage streaming at sportscage.com. Prairie Land Rentals text line. Since 1986, you get to deal with the owner. Greg, good point out there. We are trying to live in a society here. Can you remind people to clean the snow off their cars when driving their car? Yeah, I had to say to a youngster today, he must have been 18, 19, I said, hey, you may want to clean the snow off the back lights there because I almost rear-ended you. And then I would be at fault, right? You're always, if you get hit from behind, isn't it? If you hit someone from behind, you're at fault. Yeah, something like that.
Follow too closely.
It's a crap rule. Local hockey tonight, Junior B, Prairie Storm at the Ritchie, where they would have cleaned the parking lot today. It's all good to go, 7:30. And then AAA female in Notre Dame, the Rebels are in town, 7:30. No games in the SJ or the Dub tonight. Senior, though, Leroy Watrous, thanks to the Long Lake Hockey League for updating us, 8 p.m., Game 2 of the league series there. Okay, let's get back to trivia. If you're just tuning in, it's Harry's Trivia here from the article from The Athletic, and he's been stumping. I haven't got one right. What's the next question?
You got the first one, the easy one.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like the idea of an in-season tournament like the NBA? What would the players have said?
No. Unless there's big money involved. Okay.
And that's exactly what they said. 55% were like, if it drives revenues, sure, but a lot of them thought it was like cheesy, gimmicky. And then the guys that were against it were like, no, we play for one trophy. That's the Stanley Cup. We're not playing for another one during the season. Next question. Is the season too long?
Yes.
No, surprisingly. Almost 60% said no. They feel the preseason is too long. They would like it to start in September of the season, mid-season September, and then June 1 would be the Game 7 of the Cup final. So they just were okay with the thing. They're like, you could take it down to 70. That'd be great. But then it's just 12 extra games. Just play them. What's the big deal?
I was kind of factoring in preseason there. Yeah. So, okay. Next.
Should Gary Bettman retire?
Well, players, I'd say yes.
Yes, 55%. They're like, it's time for some fresh faces.
You know what's funny about that? I always think it's funny when people ridicule and tear him down on social media and all that. I'm like, he is so much smarter than all of us.
Yes.
And we would not be able to do that job. So you put yourself in his shoes. Okay. I got another one right.
2 left. Do the NHL players care about the Four Nations Cup?
Yes.
Overwhelmingly, yes. 81%.
That is high.
A lot of them are kind of treating it as an audition for the Olympics. So they're like, it's important. It's important to go there and make a good impression. And then the other question was, which NHLers care the most about the Four Nations in terms of nationality? Out of the 4 countries that are competing.
Wow, the obvious go-to would be Canada, but I will say the United States.
Oh, and you'd be wrong, my friend. Finnish, 100%. I said the Finns, 100% of them care about it. Canadians, 91%. Swedish, 84%, and the Americans at 81%. A lot of the guys are like, it's a good break, but will I watch it? Maybe, but I'm gonna enjoy my break. If I was at a bar and it's on, I'm gonna watch it. One guy said, "Do I care about it? No, but do I think it's a cool concept? Yes." So, a lot of them might not be watching, but they definitely think it's good for hockey. And the guys that aren't in it are gonna enjoy their break, but they know that the guys that are in it care about it and want to be there.
I didn't do very well on that today. I would definitely be failing. I'd have to take this class again.
4 out of 10.
4 out of 10?
Yeah.
40%.
Yeah.
Yes. Great segment, though. If
Next
you
week
missed
might be the players one.
Oh.
So that'll be good.
Yeah. Where would you, the no trade clause thing, though? Buffalo. We'll revisit that in hour 3. We'll have some time to do that. Glen Suitor will start things in hour 3. If you got any question for Suits, Prairieland Rentals text line 306-936-6262. We'll go through the movers and shakers in the CFL free agency so far, what the Riders are doing, and also ask them about the salary cap thing. That'll be a good one. It's coming up. Streaming at sportscage.com. Thank you very much. And we are on always the home of the Riders, 620 CKRM. Back for hour number 3. Barney, Shynkaruk, Chris Harris, CNC, Glen Suitor in moments. Give us our CFL fix, a little press coverage. Glen Suitor. If you missed any parts of the show, you can go back, listen to it in podcast form. You can go and watch it on YouTube as well. The NHL survey trivia. Interesting. I didn't do very well. 4 out of 10. Arash Madani, we talked to him. Also, Marcus Sayles joined us at the start of the show. We'll rerun that interview coming up later this hour. Locally, hockey one more time. Rundown. We have Junior B game tonight in the city of Regina. The Capitals host the Prairie Pilot Butte Storm at 7:30. The Caps are 10 points up on the Storm for second in the South. In Notre Dame, the female Rebels are in town, 7:30 there. And it'll senior puck tonight. Leroy's at Watrous, 8 p.m. Game 2 of that Long Lake Series. Watrous leads 1-0. It is time to go and talk with Glen Suitor. Press coverage with Glen Suitor. It's brought to you by Bronco Plumbing and Heating, where professional service is guaranteed, and they'll treat you right. 781-2090. Glen, heard it snowed in Vancouver today. When we were talking to Marcus Sayles earlier, he even showed us. I don't know where you live in the greater Vancouver area, or was it, they call it the lower mainland? Is that what the kids call
mainland.
it?
Yep, lower mainland. Yep.
Did it snow where you are? Because you are wearing a warmer jacket today than usual.
Yes, we're in North Vancouver, kind of up on the mountainside, so we are right in the snow belt. And if it's even close, we're getting it. The other parts that get it more than anything is out sort of in the Langley area and Abbotsford, stuff like that. But what did we have? I think we've got at least a foot. I've been out there twice with the snowblower, and so it's real. And here in Vancouver, no one can drive in the snow. If you go anywhere else, you go to Manitoba, you go to Saskatchewan, you go whatever, one snowfall in Vancouver, and then there's a hill, and there are cars all over the curbs and up on the sides, and they're just like, your summer tires do not work in the snow. They just do not work, especially in the hills. So there's mayhem everywhere, Barney.
And then you would have bike guy. There'd be lots of bike guys who are trying to ride their bike in the snow and all over the place. You got to watch out for the case. So if it's snowing where you are, I like this. I like asking really useless questions. If it's snowing where you are now, how far away would you have to drive to go golfing if there was no snow down lower?
For me, there is a course that's like 10 minutes from my house. We're not on it or anything. We're not, that's money. That's money stuff. We're not.
Yeah. That's what bike guy is striving for.
Yes. That's what we're trying to get to. But there's one really close, but it would be in the snow belt too. It would be above that level. So I would have to go downtown, probably Burnaby, out in that area, and it would be about a 20-minute, half an hour drive. And just before the snowfall, I know a buddy of mine that was my guy who was a contractor, he's a great friend, and it was a beer league hockey teammate. He plays at UBC and their golf course, and he plays there. He played all the way up until this snowfall. So like all of a week and a half ago, he was out there playing 18.
Yeah. My buddy lives in Pitt Meadows, and he'll send me pictures like all the time that he's out there playing it, and just obviously super jealous. Here, funny story. Buddy that I met played Bethpage Black with from Farmingdale, Long Island. He messaged me the other day, and he's like, "Hey, a bunch of us are gonna go skiing. Should we go to Whistler or to like Banff?" And I said, "You can't go wrong with either." I said, "I've never been to Whistler." I said, "All I know is our dollar is like at 60 cents. So just come up here and do whatever you guys want." It's going to be like when you go to Mexico and you feel rich. It's like, that's what you guys are going to feel like. Do the Whistler thing, get the biggest, the most expensive condo, and just live it up because our dollar is absolute garbage.
Well, you know what? Banff for me is one of my favorite, areas in Canada. I love it. The fly fishing in the rivers there, fantastic. It's so beautiful in the mountains there. But if you're going on a ski trip and money is not an issue, because it's expensive in Whistler, it absolutely is expensive, but you got to go to Whistler. You have to go to Whistler. I think it's ranked like 1 or 2, maybe in the top 3 for sure in the entire world for ski resorts. So there's just so much up there and so many different styles of runs, and you can do the helicopter thing and all that too. So yeah, Whistler is the way to go there.
Yeah, I don't have that kind of funding to go. I'm more of a North Battleford, Table Mountain guy, or what's the Echo Ridge, the one down there. Look at where is this? Is this Banff?
That's Banff.
This is Lake Louise or Banff?
Yeah.
Harry's played the golf course over there. I've always wanted to play that golf course. I think I missed my window. Now it's...
I played that course, Barney, and on one of the par 3s, we had to wait for the black bear to leave the green.
Yeah. Well, we get that in Waskesiu, up north here lots. The bear's always out. Kind of does its own thing. Leaves us alone. I'm like, what do you want from us? You got nothing. Yeah. Okay. Really weird yesterday for me, as kind of an outsider looking in here, that they announced that the salary cap is going up. Don't get me wrong. Really good news. $400,000 jump. It struck me as a interesting time to come out with that news. Was it not, Glenn? Or did teams know, do you think, now that we're kind of doing the negotiation thing, or would this have just been dropped on them?
It would have been dropped on them. And I don't think the league, well, first of all, the league is still, in a transition situation, the league office, because the commissioner has said he's retiring and stepping away, and they haven't talked about a new one yet. So, Greg Dick, head of football operations, Darren Hackwood, who's the head of the officials, they're probably in charge in a lot of ways in these things. I wouldn't blame them right now, not because of that, though, but because even if there was a commissioner in place, the final audits and when they do their final accounting, that has been set for some time. So that just happened to be when the news came out that there was 18 million across the board in increased revenues. And because of the new CFL Players Association agreement, there is a set percentage that the players will receive an increase in salary cap. And they have the choice. So they can look at it as an increase in salaries that you have to negotiate, or maybe they could add it to playoff money or Grey Cup money. And that would be interesting if the players voted for that, because now we're talking even more competitive coming down the wires if you're playing for money, which you shouldn't be anyway. But so I wouldn't blame the league office right now. It's terrible timing because so many of the free agents have already sort of agreed to their deals, and then they find out that each team has more money to spend. Maybe they could have worked a better agreement even and seen some more dollars. So that's the downside. But there's really no one to blame here for it. If they do it again at this time next year, now the league's just being jerks to the players. But if they adjust it so that this is all done and the auditing and the accounting is done well before free agency, they know exactly where they're sitting, what the salary cap is, what they can spend, then they'll have made the correction.
Speaking of free agency, still a few days till it officially opens, but to me it seems like we're at a point now where it's very anticlimactic. I don't see a lot of shine left on a lot of things left out there. Is there anything that I might be missing that's maybe below the radar in terms of, well, this could be an interesting storyline where this person goes? But other than that, it seems again like it's kind of it's all done.
Well, I think in any free agency, really, there's the top 7 or 8 guys. Those all-stars. For us, it's like the Kenny Lawler type guy who everyone's wondering. Geno Lewis. Everyone's wondering, where those top guys are going to end up. And once those cards fall, then you're still looking at some very good football players. I'm not sure if it's completely official, but Peter Godber is a huge loss for Saskatchewan. So is Adam Auclair. I think both of those guys, when you lose starting Canadians, and in the case of Godber, a starting all-star Canadian O-lineman, that's a hit. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat that. That's a hit. But there's still some good players out there, and players that can help you win. Again, I've mentioned them a couple times, but a Robbie Smith, Stephen Dunbar in Hamilton is an American receiver who I think is just hitting his prime and could be very, very nice add to really any roster. He's still available. Celestin Haba, who is in his 3rd year as a rush end, again, American here, but if the price is right, very interesting back half of the season to me in Winnipeg last year, and a guy that knows what it takes, but knows that culture that they're trying to build in the locker room for a team that's been back to the Grey Cup 5 times in a row. And here's another name that I'd love to throw out there and hear what Rider fans think about it. AJ Ouellette's a great player, and he's one of my favorite players because of his style. But Kadeem Carey is still there. He's still on the market. I mean, Kadeem Carey is a different style guy. And if they could figure out a way to rotate or even play him at the same time, boy, the price would have to be right. The price, because you don't want to overspend when you get AJ Ouellette there. But Kadeem Carey is another name that I look at and go, "Ooh, that would be interesting if this guy, he's a breakaway player." And if you're watching the podcast right now, you're seeing examples of Kadeem Carey and what he can do.
So that was kind of my next question, was his name is still the one out there. And so with everybody else being discussed or spoken for, does it kind of a foregone conclusion then that he's not going to stick around in Toronto, or like are they there hasn't been anything about him staying there?
Yeah, I think it's still with a guy like him, and even really a Stephen Dunbar. I think with those guys, they're probably still listening to more than one offer. They're allowing their own teams, like in the case of Kadeem, Toronto, to counteroffer. And until we get to that 11th date where the contracts have to be submitted and they have to make their decisions, we won't know what his price is. So I think that's still fluent. It's still sort of in motion as to what he can try and get and what teams are willing to pay. And, I mentioned AJ Ouellette because if Kadeem, let's say he just hypothetically, I don't know this for a fact, but let's say hypothetically the Riders are talking to him and they say, you would be a 50% player. As long as you're both healthy, AJ Ouellette's going to play and so will you, but it'll be kind of a 50-50 arrangement. Well, that might not be something that Kadeem Carey is comfortable with, So, he might say, well, there's other teams that say I'm going to be the feature guy and play 80% of the snaps. And that might factor into it, and it might not be about money. So some interesting guys, guys, I still say, like, this is what I mean about sort of once the top guys fall. I still say a guy like Tunde Adeleke, who is a Canadian free safety. Now, the Riders have Jackson Ford and Jaden Dahlke, and they have the Onyeka brothers. And there are Canadians that could be good free safeties. And I think Dahlke, when I watched him, I thought he had some penalty issues this year.
Fellas are back.
Gentlemen, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. It must be snow all over the cables here in Vancouver.
I was just gonna say that the big snowstorm that came through. We were getting it to, and we were getting you back on here, Glenn. Besides the Riders, where would you see as maybe a top tier landing spot for Carey? Maybe a team that you just think that would be talking to him aggressively?
That's a good question, because Calgary he's been and gone, so that's probably out of the question. Winnipeg,
you can't go back? Isn't there a song that says you can't go back?
Yeah,
you can go back.
You can. If the number's right and everybody's happy, you can. But probably down the list, likely stay in the East, maybe even go across the highway to Hamilton would be an interesting one. I have to look back at all the teams, but I think when you're talking about a Kadeem Carey, this is a champion. This is a guy who not only is, going to get his ring at the beginning of the next season from this last year in Toronto, but was a huge part of the win. I heard you guys discussing earlier about the importance of tailbacks and how all of a sudden they're getting paid more in the States, and people are maybe, it's the eye-opening thing that you have the right guy back there. Your offense runs through him. One of the main reasons I've often said that the Bombers have been back to the Cup 5 times in a row is because of Brady Oliveira, is because of their run game. And their run game opens everything else up. And when you guys talked earlier, I think it was with Arash, when you talked about how the run game, if you're getting gutted by the run, your defense is demoralized. It is so true. I remember back when Mike Pringle was the star running back in the CFL, and we had to try and stop him. And many, 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 many nights we couldn't. We'd be in the huddle saying they're giving the ball to Pringle. Like, we don't have to call a defense. This is what they're doing. And we couldn't stop them. And that is completely demoralizing. So, and that doesn't even bring up the pass protection element and how important it is to have a guy that's smart enough and understands the game enough that in those passing situations for the quarterback dropping back in the pocket, he can scan the open guy and make sure he picks up the blitzer, because that is crucial or you get your quarterback killed. So, big time important position for your offense to be successful.
Mario Alford yesterday came down. He re-ups with the Riders. a lot of people, return guy, all this. The one thing I noticed last year with him, right, is they were really trying to stay away from him. They're trying to punt it into the corner where he didn't have anything to take advantage of. But that one, did that come as a surprise for you, Glenn, or did you think he'd be back?
Well, when Janarian Grant signed back with the Argos, then now it's sort of negotiate with your team, get the best you can. Really no need to move on. I'm not surprised at all the Riders want him back. You mentioned one thing that's so important and almost never talked about. I mean, Alfred is a guy who we've seen many times, probably 2 or 3 times a year, where he'll break it all the way back for a touchdown. And sometimes that's a missed field goal, one of the most exciting plays in our game when you take it that far. But it is that field position difference. I mean, we had almost 63 or 64% of the games decided in the final 3 minutes this year. And if you think of that, you're talking about 1 possession games, because they're decided, they're still in the balance with 3 minutes to go. And that means they're 1 possession or less. So not just 7 or 8 points, but maybe 2 or 3, or in some cases 1. And if you have just scored to take the 2-point lead, Mario Alford taking it back to midfield is a game changer. I mean, that's probably only 20 more yards, the difference between an average return and a great return to the midfield stripe. But you can get your offense there, with 40 seconds left. They can run the entire offense. They don't have to take a shot and do all those deep balls and crazy throws. They can run their regular offense to go back and get the winning points. They're already in field goal range almost. So those are important yards. And I'm not surprised they got Mario back.
I want to pivot to the Super Bowl. Harry and I were talking about it coming up Sunday. Kind of a big deal. Harry brought up the point with, I don't know, you were listening to the Arash interview. Harry brought up the good point, right? It's like 2 weeks. You got that week of like, this just seems draining and there's nothing there. Totally marketing time and a chance to make money. What's your take on the 2-week window?
Well, I know why they do it. They do it because it gives their teams and the players a chance to get their families organized and all that after they know they're going to the Super Bowl. And then they can concentrate for 1 straight week in just preparing for the game. Plus, it gives them a chance to rest. So the Players Association would be all on board for it. I think it's too bad. Think of it this way in our country. If we got to a Game 7 in the Stanley Cup Final and they said, we're going to play that in 2 weeks. What we're going to do, we played all the playoffs one after another, and we played up to Game 6 one after another. But now it's a Game 7. 1 game decides it all, but we're going to wait 2 weeks to play it. I think you lose a lot of momentum. And Barney, I get what you were saying about the opening for more advertising dollars and, different nights and luncheons and things that you could sell. Yes, for sure, that would be important. But I think it really takes the wind and the momentum out. The other thing, and this is just a theory, I might as well put this on social media because I have absolutely no facts to back this up. But I think the short, like the 1 week in our league or in other sports, or even in the Stanley Cup Final where it's a 3-day to get to Saturday night for Game 7 instead of maybe 2, right? It gets to Game 7 and maybe a 3-day break or something. That to me helps the underdog a little bit. A 1 week break in football, when you're banged up after getting yourself to the big game, and you've got to get organized. It's a different beast because of all the travel and your family and everything else you got to deal with. I think it helps the underdog to just keep on that roll and say, no one believed we'd be here. We were the low seed in this whole playoff thing, and we've climbed all the way up. And Philadelphia, I guess, is in that category, really. Yeah, I don't know. It's, again, that just a feeling.
Okay. Okay, we got 25 seconds. Who do you got Sunday?
I'm going to go off the board, and I'm going to take the Eagles. I really, everybody I've talked to, and I've talked to some people at TSN who are all involved in this and stuff, and actually down there as well, and they're all taking Patrick Mahomes. They're all taking Kansas City. They're too good. They've got too much balance. They've got the best player in the world. I just think the Eagles' defense is good enough to not stop, but maybe contain, keep it under 25, and the best sort of grinded out run game. Jalen Hurts has to play great. He has to have another good game. He played great in the championship round, but he has to have another big game. But I'm going to take the Eagles and the underdog. How many points do I get?
I like it. Nothing. Just straight up money line.
1.5.
You take them. Colson wrote it down in the book. I'm taking the Eagles too. That's more just because I want them to win. And then we'll recap this on Tuesday next week. Okay, go get that snowblower fired up. Enjoy the weekend, Glenn.
You got it, guys. Getting the mittens on. Here we go. Thanks.
That's right.
Press coverage with Glen Suitor. And it is for Bronco Plumbing and Heating, where professional service is guaranteed. And they'll treat you right. 781-2090. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll go down the trivia river that we went down earlier and talk about some other things locally that's happening. It is the Sports Cage streaming at sportscage.com. Glen Suitor, and if you want to go to sportscage.com and read what Glenn had to say the last time he was on about micros, it's a good piece there as well. Also, I like the featured segment, sportscage.com yesterday. Charleston Hughes believes the Stampeders are in trouble against the Elks. Calgary is in desperation mode. His exact words. There's some bulletin board material right there. We talked about this off the hop, and it was Harry's trivia. It's going to be a new segment on the show. It was a lot of fun, and it came from the Athletic again. And the first question, and paraphrase here, but it was if you're an NHL player, what would be the city destination that you would have on your no trade list? Right, Harry? Basically?
Yep. Number one team on your no trade list. Under no circumstances will I be traded there or here.
How does that make? So can you throw, if you're watching the stream, it obviously is Winnipeg. 48.78% of 82 respondents. Now, this isn't making fun of when I said we don't need Gary and we don't need Benny and we don't need all our Winnipeg listeners being like, yeah, you guys live in Regina. I know, I get it. I'm looking at it right now. Lots of snow, basically the same thing, same climate as you. You have an NHL team. You guys are great fans, passionate fans, great facility, all that jazz. Just no one wants to play there. And understandable. No. Here's the question, Harry. How do you feel if you're playing there right now?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not an indictment of the team, nor is it an indictment of the fans or the organization. It's an indictment of the city, both culturally, geographically, the government in terms of taxes. Like that's what it's more of an indictment of. The guys feel there's nothing to do there. They feel like the weather sucks, that there's not a lot of culture, I guess, in terms of food choices or things like that. And the taxes suck. So it has nothing to do with the Winnipeg organization. So if you're playing there, I think you'd be like, yeah, it's a great place to play. It's just not a great place to live.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're driving at. In terms of like the location, not the organization.
For sure. Then Buffalo was second. Again, upstate New York. I can totally get that. Third on the list was San Jose.
Yeah, that's weird. I do not understand that one. I think that one has more to do with the organization. I think that they feel like things are maybe just a little chaotic there and they don't want to be a part of whatever it is they're doing there.
They got
kind of the same as Buffalo. I think that that's more of an indictment of the organization, because how can 50% of the players not want to play for a team that's first place, right? That doesn't make sense. But Buffalo, some of the comments were like, they haven't made the playoffs in 14 years. They always kind of seem to bung things up organizationally when they're starting to turn a corner. And there was no comments for San Jose, but I'm assuming that it's got to be organizational over geographical.
Tied for fourth place, and totally would have got this: Calgary and Ottawa. Now, when we have Eric Francis on Monday, we're going to have to let him defend Calgary, get in a new stadium. Again, like we in Sasky, and again, no indictment, no whatever. Yeah, Calgary is a really cool city for us. Especially you go when it's nice, when it's nice, right? Calgary, everybody move. Half the city is from Saskatchewan. They're transplants from Sasky. But if you're an NHL player, our buddies are rocking it in Nashville, Dallas, Vegas. I'm just going after no state tax places. Florida, Tampa. Yeah. So it's tough. And then Anaheim, California. California's a bit of a mess though, and really high tax. And then the other one on the list, which tied with Anaheim, that you were surprised. You've ever been to a game there? When I went to a game there, I was like, no wonder everyone wants to play here. Is the Rangers? Yeah,
I mean, I arguably think they have the best goal song celebration in the league, especially if you're a Ranger fan and you're there and things are going your way. It's your night. It's absolutely electric. One of the best hockey games I've ever seen was at that rink. And it's New York, for God's sakes. Like, I don't know what you're looking for if you're like, I'm not going to New York.
I would think family. If you had young kids and maybe a family and you kind of had to live across the river in Jersey, or I don't even know, right? It wouldn't be the greatest place to rake. Manhattan, if you've ever been there. It is the concrete jungle. It is awesome. But if you wanted your kids to go in the backyard and run around, build a hockey rink, have a dog, not your place. You're in a condo with a gerbil.
Right. Yeah, or you're commuting. You're out in Queens and you're out in Long Island and you've got a bit of a commute to the rink every day. But
which might not be a bad thing if you're a player. It's like, got to spend the night again in the city.
Yeah. Staying in the hotel tonight. Big game tomorrow.
Tough one. And then the other good one, if we could put the coaches. And I should have stayed with Tortorella, and that was the who would you want to play for? Coaches.
Right. John Cooper.
That was the next one. It was John Cooper. Totally understandable. Get that. I went with Paul Maurice. Who else on that list jumps out? Martin St. Louis.
Tortorella's got 4%. I mean, he still was in the top 5, right? So as much as he was not, people didn't want to play for him, he still got mentions.
Yeah.
I'm a Tortorella guy. I'm unabashed about that. I think he's such a good human. I think he's one of those guys that he would drive you hard, but he would get the most out of you. And I think he can get the most out of the least because I think he knows how to push buttons on different players and push different buttons. I just think he's really good. And I don't think he'd be in the league this long if he was that big of a-hole as everybody wants him to believe, and how the media hates him because he is not overly nice to them because sometimes they ask dumb questions.
I think if you came in somewhat entitled, it ain't going to work. It ain't going to work with Torts. He's not there to kiss anyone's behind and all that. He wants the grinders. Where some coaches would be like, coddle, protect. Yes, no, whatever you want. Where Torts is like, get out of here.
And I think he just wants his players to be successful. I think he wants them to succeed. Yeah. I don't think he wants guys. Like when he benched Couturier 2 years ago, I don't think he wanted to make an example of Sean Couturier. I think he thought what he was doing was going to make Couturier a better player. And so I don't think you can fault a coach for that.
I agree. We are going to talk to Marcus Sayles after the break, and then that'll take us into news. If you missed that conversation, it's he's in BC too in a massive snowstorm. Unbelievable. It's a sprinkling.
Storm of the century.
Harry, always a pleasure, my man. Thanks for doing this again. Maybe next week.
Always.
Four Nations Cup.
Yeah.
Four Nations.
Good
We can
times.
talk. We could talk Super Bowl and Four Nations Cup. It is the Sports Cage. Thanks, CNC. We got Marcus Sayles coming up. Sports Cage streaming at sportscage.com.